RAW Grappling Championship is happening on Sunday, July 3rd, and a man who has punched his ticket to that show is here with me tonight, Freddie Barker. Freddie, the winner at the Road to Raw tournament in April. Freddie, you are fighting in London at the Indigo 2. How do you feel about it?
Do you know what? It's about bloody time if I'm being honest that I was put on the main stage of an event. I think jiu-jitsu is so diluted with good grapplers but no characters, and it's about time jiu-jitsu got shook up a little bit, and the banter and the bravado was actually thrown in the limelight. Like good jiu-jitsu, so good jiu-jitsu is good, but do you know what I mean? If there's no character behind it, who cares? Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. And Damon talked about that when we were actually looking for people to match on this card. He was very open. He said, look, I want to get characters out there. So do you think sometimes personality is more important than skill in this game?
I think I think it is like that of anything. It's like that from like professions, especially with the profession I'm in and in personal training. Characters can hold a room. When you're in a jiu-jitsu event, it's like when I have the event at Raw Grappling, I don't want the crowd to just be completely silent and you can hear a pin drop. I want people to be shouting. I want people to be like, I want it to be exciting. Like I was a massive, massive fan of WWF growing up as a kid, and now this is sort of the closest thing I could possibly do to it. Like I won't be doing any what's it called, pile drivers. Well, maybe depends how Larry gets during the interview later. But like even like choke slams, rock bottoms, like anything like that, like head and arms. It's literally like WWF for me, and that's why I think it's on like the tip of really becoming like a global sort of like sports, because UFC especially you're seeing much more submissions, and people are going like, what was that submission? First would come up as jujitsu. So hopefully with the people like that's what's his name, Spinall, and Paddy the Baddy, we can actually it can actually just like catapult it in the UK especially, and we get some more visibility over in the States.
Do you think the importance of developing grappling as a sport is got to be centered around entertainment ultimately? Because you mentioned the WWE and WWF. I'm a big fan of going back to some of those commentary calls because they're on YouTube. I remember Stone Cold comes back from jail, and Vince McMahon walks out after somebody was talking smack to Vince McMahon's wife, and then Stone Cold comes in when he wasn't supposed to be there, right? And these were incredible moments. Is that kind of pageantry perhaps something that would help pump this up even more?
Yeah, I think it has to be like, who's the number one watched grappler in the world? It's number one and two. It's Gordon Ryan, who
Yep.
talks shit but can back it up, and Craig Jones, who talks shit, backs it up, but sometimes loses. Like it in jiu-jitsu, it doesn't matter. Like it is not life and death. We're not going into a boxing ring. Like there are no blows. There's no one trying to knock your head off. If you tap, so what? As long as the fight was interesting and the fans enjoyed it, and it wasn't just like boring stalling, and I think that is definitely one way to develop it. I think people need to be looking at something, not actually knowing what's happening, but still be entertained, rather than like being like, oh wow, did you see that step back or that like hand wrist control? It's like, yeah, that's well and good for like the purists or people who like enjoy the technique of the sport, but they're already in. They're already happy. They already like the sport or do jujitsu. We want to get the people who like, for instance, my dad. My dad used to come watch me play rugby when I was in secondary school, and we had an amazing, amazing rugby team from nothing. We were a state school. We got to the quarterfinals of this cup called the Daily Mail Cup, which is like unheard of for a state school against a private school. But my dad had no idea about the rules of rugby. No idea. Could not tell you anything, right? But we're in this quarterfinals. They do something. They do like a foul basically. He knocks the ball forward. He picks it up, knocks the ball forward, picks it up, goes and scores a try. So we're all like this. Everyone on the sideline, all the rugby dads are going like, this is a bloody outrage. This is a bloody out. My dad's like, he's this massive sort of old school villain sort of guy. He's like, what happened? What happened? It's like the referee. He's cheating. My dad is going, is he a cheating? See you next Tuesday. Is he a cheat? They're like, is he? Because he doesn't know the rules. He goes, yes, he is. So
Yeah.
my dad storms on the pitch. He goes, you are cheating. Starts grilling at him because he was built. He's never ever done that in a football match when he's watched me play football. He's never ever done it. But like the excitement of like it was like a war. They were like smashing against our try line, smashing against our try line, and it got so like his adrenaline burst so much. He actually had done something which was so out of character, but it was the excitement of a
Yeah.
sport that he didn't know what was going on, but he knew it was intense. And it's the same with grappling. When you can see something that's so intense, and it's back and forth, even if you don't know what the moves are or who's winning or who's not. When they were watching me in the ADCC online, they were like, "I thought you've done so well." Like, I didn't really understand what's going on, but it was like we're off our seats, and that's exactly how we're gonna get this sport bigger by having great fights of people who are characters and also people who are willing to like go for something rather than just like stalling out and being afraid to lose. Like, do you know what I mean? Losing does not matter. The enjoyment of a sport and putting on a good show is better than any win that you could ever get. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. That jiu-jitsu takes that road rather than just like a guy. Jiu-jitsu guys literally celebrate like they're footballers back in like the '60s. They like jump and go like this. It's like this. No, you should be sliding on your knees, ripping your shirt off, doing one of them. Do you know what I mean? But that's the excitement that we need to create, and through content, I believe we can do it. Great submission highlights, which is obviously great, but just like battles, just pure battles of people just like putting everything on the line and being physically exhausted. Then you earn the crowd's respects, and also like they're paying to come and see something. Like I've got a load of my friends and family coming. As long as I graft, I will, even if I lose, still be the best looking. But even if I lose, it won't matter because they would have enjoyed it so much, and it would have been the entertainment aspect of them coming rather than the aspect of like me having one fight.
Yeah, it makes sense. And, you speak about making it as accessible as possible for somebody who maybe has never seen it before. That's something that RAW is trying to do with their rule set. It's no gi, submission only until we go to points. It definitely makes sense. And was it rugby and then football and then eventually jiu-jitsu? Or take me back to the beginning. Were you bouncing off the walls, doing pillow fights,
Oh,
WWE
mate,
style? And then it was like, I need to find an outlet?
do you know what? You saw my hair. I had short hair, Rob, but I had like long blonde hair, and I all through my stages. And my dad took me to Insurrection at Earl's Court once, WWF Insurrection, and I was on
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
was on his shoulders, and I think we were sat next to like Burt Bacharach or something like that, like because we had like amazing seats. And my dad's got me on his shoulders. I'm this long, like gorgeous, like little boy, like gorgeous. Done like the Ralph Lauren campaign when I was like 10, like long blonde hair, and on my dad's shoulders. And I won't do, but I was giving him the bird, swearing as much as I could at Vince McMahon as he was coming down. And he literally looked at me and was like, "What the hell?" But it was that passion that went on to like obviously me practicing suplexes on like family friends and my sister and my brother, and then me and my cousin like making like our own wrestling moves, and then obviously football played a big part. But as kids growing up at a young age, we used to play this awful game called Dog, and it was like one person would be in the middle of a trampoline, and everyone else, however many of you there would be, would have boxing gloves on. And as soon as you try and take someone down, everyone just can just start beating them up. I know it's great. Kids nowadays don't like wouldn't be allowed to play this. But then obviously it was like
Health and
I
safety.
know, but then football's always my passion. But just as like an all round athlete, when we started playing rugby, my school was a sport. It was a state school, but it was a sports college. So like we just excelled.
Yeah.
Like our rugby team, we lost every single match for the first 6 months, and then something just clicked, and then we went on like a 5 year winning streak in city level and like national titles. And then the only reason I started jiu-jitsu is I was actually with a friend earlier. It's because on a stag do, my friend's older brother, who was like 5 years older than me, we're all partying in Tulum, and he wanted to have a grappling match with me. I've actually got the video. I've actually got the video. I'll try and find it. He wanted a grappling
We'll
match.
release it.
He wanted a grappling
Yeah.
match with me. Like, and there was this pit in the villa. It's like a sand pit. It's like gladiator pit. It was crazy. I'm like, I'm not grappling you, mate. I don't know. You're just gonna like embarrass me. I'll wrestle you, but like that. He's, no, no, no. Submission only. We've been like drinking all day, and I was like the youngest there. This is like a good couple of years ago, and they were like, mate, just do it. Just do it. Doesn't matter. Just you'll batter him. It's fine. So I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So literally, we're in this like pit. All the boys around us. We're like it's like a scene from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. People like banging their chests, and it's like like lights and everyone. It's like silence. He like goes like this. He goes like slap fist. I'm like, the hell are you doing? And as he tries to collar tie me, I just spin him round, pick him up, put him down, and then just like one hand choked him out straight away. Like literally within like 10 seconds. And the rest of the holiday, I was like, yeah, mate, that was like fair play. Like, you should definitely start doing jiu-jitsu. So when I got back, it was about a year or so later, year or two later, I actually decided to join Roger Gracie's.
And were you well behaved in school, or what were you like?
I got away with a lot of stuff. Um, yeah, I got away with a lot of stuff purely through like half charm and half like naughtier kids like getting the blame for stuff. But I when I speak to like younger friends, like younger friends, siblings and stuff like that, I do say enjoy school while it lasts, because it is like some of the best time of your lives. And I used to bunk so much school. I used to go to on like a Wednesday. My friend, when he as like a youth player, he was playing for Brighton, and on when he'd have Wednesdays off, so we would have a football match on a Wednesday. So at like 11, the match wouldn't be until like half two, three. At 11, I would just leave school, go to this deli, get a sandwich, walk up to my mate's mum and dad's house. Like, oh, Fred, do you not have school today? And I'd be like, oh, no, Lise, it's a half day because we've got a football match. She was like, oh, okay. Do you want another bacon sandwich? I'd be like, yes, please. um, and yeah, so I could have probably been a bit better in school actually. I yeah,
Did you get good grades?
I cheated on some exams, um, and then didn't turn up to a few exams, but not really good. If I like put my mind to it, I would have been able to like probably get it, but I just never like the issue of my the issue of not the issue of my family, the issue of like my upbringing is like education just really isn't sort of like it like no some like, in American families like it's like you go to college, you go to university, like that was never sort of like a pressure for me. So I just like sort of, and when you're good at sport, you just think you're the dog's bollocks and you don't really need it. But I was fortunate enough to actually be that like that actual like 1% of people who actually didn't need school. But I look
Did
back
your
on it.
parents support you?
Well, when I left school, yeah, when I left when I left school at six, I went to college for a month, 1 month, and then um, I had like a really, it was like Halloween, and I had like a really heavy night, and my mum was in Paris, and I woke up on the Monday, and I was like, I'm not going to college anymore. And my dad was like, all right by me, but then my mum's calling my phone. She's like, get your ass up now and go to college. And I was just like, no. But luckily, I was like quite an entrepreneur when I was younger as well. Before I was like playing like good level of, and the college basically didn't. I quit college, but they kept my registration so I could still play for their football team. So
Hmm.
they'd come and pick me up on like every like on like a Tuesday, and I'd go and like play for the college team. But I actually started. Do you remember dubstep?
Very well. I'm a fan.
Yeah, so I started an under 18s dubstep night when I was like 16, and it was like really, really, really successful, like really successful to the point there was like a few big events that were in London that came down to Brighton that I was just like beefing, and I sent someone in with like stink bombs to walk into their event and just like crush all these like disgusting stink bombs in their event.
What?
But I had, I
So you took them. Hold on. Pause. You went and torpedoed someone else's event in order to put your own event on?
yeah, they put it on the same week as mine, and this was my territory. but
Man,
but
you're like the gangs of LA, straight up.
but man, I had people.
Turf
I
wars.
had people like Koki, Scream, Flux Pavilion, and I paid these guys like
Yep.
£250 and like £400 for their events, and now they're like God knows how big. But I've done three of
They're
it.
huge.
I done.
They're huge. They're some of the biggest
I
names
know
in like Screaming Banga.
it's crazy.
I know Flux Pavilion. I mean, gosh, I remember even like listening to like Skrillex and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's like big names right
Mate,
there, man.
it was
But
massive.
you cut your hair. You got a pink rash guard. Did you ever stop partying?
No. I was what happened, I was wearing the pink rash guard, doing black belt advanced divisions with long blonde hair, making everyone piss themselves laughing as a blue belt and like winning and like beating black belts. And the only reason I got my purple belt was because Kiwan was like they kept refusing, they kept like revoking it because I'd only been a blue belt for like 6 months. And then Keelan basically gave it to me. He was like, "You can't keep beating black belts and taking the piss out of people and laughing in the middle of matches while wearing a youth girls XXXL rash guard, um, and with having like and looking the way you do. It's just like it's not on. It's disrespectful." So he gave me my purple belt, and the reason I cut my hair, not to be like deep or anything, is my mum got diagnosed with cancer like 3 or 4 months ago, and her whole thing is like she has this big, beautiful, like massive blonde hair, and she basically started losing it after the first stage of like chemotherapy. So me and my cousin, who both had long hair, just to, like as like a solidarity thing, and also I always thought I'd look very hot with a shaved head. We decided to shave our hair off, and yeah, exactly, shave our hair off, and just show it is just hair, and I do look just as good.
But you didn't answer the question, Freddie. I asked, did you stop partying? You talked about all this stuff with
Oh well,
dubstep. You talked about school.
I
Do you still party? You still go out?
I do I yeah. Unfortunately, when I'm on like a good run, I don't do it that much. But when I do it, like for like a bit of a nightmare, I've actually got Glastonbury Festival the weekend before Raw, which is going to be which is going to be fun. But I've been performing very well in training. But I don't look, I'm not I don't socially drink. I don't smoke. I don't do anything like that. But if I party, yeah, I do. I don't party much anymore. But when I do, it is as full on as my jujitsu basically.
So let's talk about that matchup. Raw Grappling Championship, you are matched after winning at the Road to Raw tournament. At Raw Grappling Championship on July 3rd, you are fighting Alfie Davis, a Bellator MMA veteran, a guy who's had, I think, a great deal of kickboxing experience in addition to his MMA. What are your thoughts on that one?
As long as he doesn't start roundhousing me and giving me elbows, I think it's going to be a very exciting match. I know he's from Shoot Fighters because my mate Christian Obzek, is mates with him, and he was like, "You've got Alfie." I was like, "No, I've got some random kid who wears like boxers when he does jujitsu." So when I found out I did, I was like, fuck. I was like, "Oh, all right. Well, what should I do?" And he's like, "No, not telling you anything." I said the exact same thing to him. So I thought I was going to have a double agent. But listen, he can be if he puts boxing gloves on, he can do some striking, but it's not going to be any good for when he's trying to like collar tie me. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I perform better when I'm fighting grappling against better opponents anyway. And when it comes to like UFC guys, I was the main sparring partner for Modestus, the UFC guy. You see,
Yep.
he got his knee like inverted, sort of like in, and he's just had a knee recovery. He's like on the bounce back, and he's like 100 plus kilos, and I was grappling with him, keeping up with him massively. So, someone being an MMA fighter doesn't bother me whatsoever. And look, put anyone in front of me, I'm gonna give it a go, and that's all that really matters, isn't it?
Do you have any advantages that you see over Alfie looking at the matchup?
Yeah, for sure. Just like overall grappling time on the mats, no point system. So like MMA fighters really what wrestling, like takedowns, no points, mate. So like do what like you can take me down as many times as you want. Doesn't matter. You're not getting any points. This is submission only. Um, so I'm hoping literally just like have a full blown scrap, try and get like go for the submission like consistently throughout the whole. What is it? 10-minute rounds.
I think yours is a little bit less. I think yours might only be 6 or 8, but
Oh,
I'd have to double check that.
put it to 10 minutes. Put it to take. Give us.
You want to go 10
Yeah,
minutes?
go yeah. Put
So if Damon jumps on and watches, you want to go for
yeah
10
yeah
minutes and Alfie watches?
yeah. Go 10 minutes. 100%.
All right. It's
I'm
2 minutes
not
on points. I do know that.
2 minutes. What at the end or at the beginning?
At the end, if there's an overtime, but it's submission only for the first part. Yeah.
Yeah, or just go full blown submission only, no time limit. I'm sure I can get it done in less than 10 minutes.
I love it. The challenge has been issued. Have you ever watched Alfie fight? You ever seen any of his tape?
um, no, I know that he wears Y fronts, right? Like budgie smugglers.
Listen, man, the Valet Tudo shorts. It's
Yeah,
key,
yeah. As
right?
look, as long as he doesn't grease himself up and I can get hold of him, like we're a laugh. Or we just both make a put a gentleman's bet. We both can lap ourselves in coconut oil or oil, and then we see how long it like see how it goes then.
Hey, we might have MMA fans will know grease skate. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that sounds like something a little bit more ripe for OnlyFans. I don't know.
Oh, we could put it on OnlyFans. Do a KY jelly after party fight, and that's when the real fans come in.
Oh my gosh.
Listen,
Oh, listen, he's a great guy. He might be able to sign up to that one for you. You never know.
I hope so. I've already sent an owl to his house with the KY jelly fight invitation. But I know how those MMA fighters are, right? It's like jiu-jitsu. Yeah, you can get close enough to someone, but if you really want to get close to someone and start feeling someone up, do MMA.
All right, you heard it there from Freddie Barker. Freddie, let's talk about RGAHQ, right?
Yep.
What's that like? What does your training involve? Do you have like a
Um,
specific kind of camp that you go through or a program for this, or are you just trying to stay in shape all the time,
no, no, no,
cutting weight on time as you can?
no, no, no. Our trainings, the standard RGA is getting incredible. It was a bit all over the place, and a few of us actually nearly did leave because it was like they didn't look at it as a main attraction. They had minimal classes. I don't do gi right, um, but Key One basically decided to take over the no gi classes, and honestly, they've gone from having like our usual squad of about 5-6 people in there, like 3-4 times a week, to full classes, 7 a.m., 10 till 12, full like we're talking like 20, 30 plus people. And the standards great. We get some good guys coming in. And yeah, basically, I've been working on my wrestling a lot, especially prior to ADCC, and then just like my conditioning. Because if my conditioning's there, I know that submissions will present themselves, and the sparring partners I have are, are great. So it's just I turn on that I go up that extra gear when I'm in competition. My adrenaline levels like are calm. So, because I've been on a few big stages now, which I think everyone should do. Everyone should try and compete as much as they want. Otherwise, you just go mad and you gas out, and you're like, and the next thing you know, you're like, why the hell did I do that? So, no, training's been going well. Had like a few niggles from ADCC that have finally recovered, and then my weight will be good by the 3rd of July. It, probably on the day, probably on the day it might be a bit heavier, but that's why we're weighing in the day before. So I know he's off season, so I know he's cutting weight. So I was like, so Christian's like, is he small? He's like, bro, off season he's like 90 kilos. I'm like, perfect. We're both short, big lumps. This will be a
What do
laugh.
you weigh now?
I'm probably like 88. I've got a comp.
Okay.
I've got a comp.
Okay.
I've got a competition on Sunday, 85.
No, it makes sense. It's not too bad. I mean, I think that, it's really good to hear a little bit more about RGA and the infrastructure that you're given and maybe some of the people that you spar with and the role models and coaching that you get, because I feel like too often in grappling at this level, and indeed any level of the people that take it very seriously, they're not just weekend warriors often going off to the leisure center and competing. Like, there is a serious physical and mental element that goes into preparing yourself to be able to go and execute, especially like you mentioned before we started the interview at ADCC. It's serious, and
Yeah,
it deserves the kind of recognition that other sports, other combat sports, perhaps some fans are a little quicker to see. You see the Showtime boxing previews and countdowns and UFC or whatever, and you get to see that, but it's every bit as intense, and in some ways more intense than grappling in some aspects.
no, it is. It's because you can go 100%, and we got some good guys that came in for ADCC. Because obviously because I'm a lot bigger and stronger. Like with some of the guys that are a lot smaller, like you don't want to go too aggressive. You don't want to go too aggressive, right? But with on my prior like 4 weeks of my camp at ADCC, I was basically saying to guys like, look, if you're going to roll with me, I'm going to go very aggressive. And and it's all everything was 10-minute rounds, 10 minute or
Mm-hmm.
3 to 10 minute rounds, 3 minutes no points, 3 minutes points, and we just worked our asses off. Like Key One was pushing, like we're dripping with sweat, exhausted, but the camaraderie that we built with the RGA boys and Key One at ADCC was phenomenal. Me and a guy called Arturus, who's I call him the second best looking in grappling. He's gorgeous Latvian guy who's in the daytime he's a baker, still hasn't got me any croissants. But when he trained, mate, this guy is crazy. He didn't train gi. Good, I swear to God, European didn't train gi for God knows how long. Maybe done one or two classes. Went to Europeans and got brown belt silver. Literally,
It's
um,
insane.
it's insane. Went to ADCC. Lucky bugger got two buys. got two buys. Then he got Max Brickerton in his
Yeah.
like first round and tapped Max with a knee bar. That was like great.
Wow.
He catches people with knee bars. It's nuts. And then there's a Key One's incredible, so flexible, so hard to tap. And then there's a guy called Big Dave who's like the enigma of RGA, and we have some great roles. He's like this massive guy, and he's going to go and do worlds. You forced him to do worlds because he started training privates with Owen Flanagan, and now he's doing like full
Yeah.
sweep entries into saddle. And I'm like, Dave, like you said, your knees didn't work 2 weeks ago, and now you're like inverting in and catching people with heel hooks, and he's got these arms, and they're just terrifying. So the roles at I invite anyone to come down. It's a great atmosphere, great location, great gym. And then when Roger comes as well, it's always great to see him in the nogi and rolling.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. And I think, hearing your story and so on, it sounds like this camaraderie and this process that you go through in the daily habit that is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, from what it sounds like in your experience, is what keeps you coming back, right? I mean, is there anything that you found particularly addictive besides that about this?
Oh, do you know what? It's such a funny crowd. Obviously I come from a footballing background, right? So in the change rooms of football, it's do you know what I mean? Very bravado, like pissed, like taking the mick. And so I've just basically taken that into Rogers, and now and I when I'm lucky. Keelan looks at me sometimes. Keelan will laugh, but then sometimes he'll look at me and be like, "Shut up," like that. Um, but do you know what it is? It's just you always feel better after. And it doesn't matter, like honestly, some days I'm training and I'm flying, like everything's like transition, boom, boom, fitness is there, everything's there, that's there. Then other days you go in and it's just like nothing's working. You're like, wow, am I rubbish at jujitsu? But then you go in again and you have a good day, and then you have another good day, and then going consistently is key. I think
Yeah.
now having like a good camaraderie between everyone on the mats, from like white belts to black belts, that like men, women. I think it's so important to allow people to want to come back to get better. And that's the only issue with jiu-jitsu. It's the retention rate at gyms. And I think
Mm.
if people can get past the issue of like them not feeling good about it and them not thinking that they're getting any better, and just keep turning up and like just put that little bit more effort into it, of just like trying to learn, and they can capture that retention rate. It will just grow. It will just become one of the top martial arts in the UK, especially because there's so many people who want to do it.
Yeah.
Self defense, everything, and it's such a great ability to learn a skill while getting extremely, extremely fit. And it's such a little community there. It's hilarious. At Rogers, especially, we probably get the 1%, the wealthy 1%, the only wealthy 1% in jiu-jitsu. We've got like one of the head guys of Apple there. Some of the actors like Nicholas Hoult, Liam Payne, they come down, and everyone's equal there, right? But the white belts,
Yep. Of course.
the white belts are hilarious. And I always look at it. I'm like, there's like three mats, and I always like look through, and like when people like walking past, listening to it, going, "Oh, I remember when I was a white belt." They're like, "Yeah, that was because only was about 2 years ago."
Yeah. Yeah. No, of course. And I know what you mean because, you come out of these things and you walk into the cool night air, and what maybe didn't make sense before now does. What didn't quite feel right before is all okay. But it also leaves you with a wonder and a fascination for next time, right? And you kind of are maybe be in the shower after you get back home. You're like, oh, I wouldn't mind revisiting that, or maybe I'll jump on YouTube tomorrow at lunch. And I'm right there with you, buddy. It's one of the most beautiful things about life, and indeed a metaphor
It
for
re-
life.
it re- it really, and you know what, karate bollocks. The wax on, wax off metaphor is I think jiu-jitsu is the only sport that actually works in. Like you'll be drilling a move. Like when during the second lockdown, I was drilling for 3 hours a day, like all the Danaher stuff, like all of it, like drilling, 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 like head to toe. Now, when Rogers was having like competition classes for like the elite athletes, I was going in, I was like hitting one move, hitting another, hitting another. I was like, oh my God, this is so Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off. And that's the issue of jiu-jitsu. Like it will work. It's just like repetition, repetition, repetition.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
what I love about it. You're always learning. And when someone
It
catches you
is.
with
It's
something,
true. And I think, yeah, like many of these things, those fundamentals, they find their way through over time, and then once you have them, they never leave you. But you build things upon those fundamentals, and that's what makes us stronger. Listen, I want to take this one home, Freddie. I want to take this one home. 2 shout outs. I'm going to give you 2 shout outs right here, okay? So let's go with the first. Are you
all
ready?
right, shout out Obelix, Obs, say hello, shout out. No, doesn't fancy it.
I'm going to ask the questions. I'm going to ask you where I want these shout outs to go. You ready?
Okay. So I want to
Here we
shout out.
go.
I want to shout out Naz, Wally, Lyle, Adrian, Hannah, Arturus, Keyone, Big Dave, and all the RGA boys that support me and support each other. And shout out to Roger for always buying me a drink when I see him at Chiltern Firehouse. And shout out shout out my boy Dimmy, who I forced to do a competition next week, even though he's the nightclub manager at Annabelle's. He's like, Malaga, I've got to get up. I don't get home till 6 o'clock in the morning. I was like, mate, just shut up. Just go and do the tournament. Just shout out all the RJ boys and shout out the Raw lot. Can't wait to mess everyone's day up on the 3rd of July.
I was going to ask you about 2 shout outs. The first, of course, was to your crew and your sponsors and those behind you. You gave me that. Here's the second. On July 3rd at RAW Grappling Championship, Freddie Barker will be taking on Alfie Davis. If Alfie were here right now in this interview, what would you say to him?
Alfie, bring the lube and the green panties, mate, because we're going to have a wild, wild round of 10 minutes. Normally only lasts 2 minutes, but now they're going to give us 10 minutes. I'll be sure to make sure I prep for it. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're hoping to have the chance to get you and Alfie on together later in a couple of weeks. Until that time, good evening again from Freddie Barker. He'll be there at RAW Grappling Championship. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook. You can also check out the tickets, and you can join us either watching on Flow Grappling or, of course, at the Indigo 2 on July 3rd. Thanks again for coming on. Okay, Fred?
Cheers, man. Thank you.